Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for coming today to our celebration of community and gratitude at Luther. Today, we are here to celebrate the accomplishments of those who have gone before us and to look forward to what still needs to be done to meet our mission at Luther. First, in talking of those who've gone before us, I'd like to acknowledge the land that we are on today. The Luther campus is located on the Haldeman Tract, the traditional territory of the neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. And we have to keep that in mind whenever we think of those who've made it possible for us to be here enjoying this beautiful space. I come to you from a hybrid classroom that has been renovated to allow for this interactive meeting. We'll see in the future this afternoon what we will require in order to make that possible in all areas of our building. As we look to those who've helped us get to where we are, we first want to thank you, our donors, who've been absolutely instrumental in making this possible, and you've been extremely generous. I'd like to thank the Synod for their large contribution to making it possible for us to be debt-free. As well, I'd like to thank the chair of the capital campaign, Don Stockman, with whom I worked with for that, for overseeing the fundraising. Our goal was $1.5 million. And in fact, we exceeded our goal for fundraising. We got $1.75 million. And for this, we are incredibly grateful to all of you. You may recall there was a rededication of the building done in October 2018. And that was an opportunity for everyone to come and visit and see the premises and what had been accomplished. And at that time, the progress had been largely due to all the chairs of the boards before me, Rod Kruger and Jim Phillips, and the steering committee as well, and Reverend Dr. Mark Harris, who oversaw that redevelopment. You'll see videos coming up as far as how that was done and some of the details from Brett Miller. And we also will have a video for you to celebrate what we need in the future and to demonstrate what is required. So without further ado, I would like to turn this over to Chris for further videos explaining what it is that we are celebrating today and what it is that we hope to do in the future. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. And again, thank you for gathering this afternoon. It's a beautiful afternoon, and I'm sure there could be other things you could be doing. So I really appreciate your willingness to support Luther in this way. The redevelopment of the Luther building has been so important in supporting Luther's mission to inspire lives of meaning and service in God's world. As you will hear from others this afternoon, the redevelopment of this building has supported teaching and learning, research and service. It has also supported the community in worship and prayers, in gathering for meals, and in providing a food distribution service for students experiencing food insecurity. And it also provides a welcoming space for all. To begin this afternoon, I'd like to start by thanking the Women's Auxiliary, because again, we had hoped to be able to have an event where we could gather to give a proper thank you to a faithful group of women for over 100 years who have supported this institution. But this is, again, one of the challenges and casualties of COVID-19 that we've not been able to do it. So this afternoon, before any more time goes on, we wanted to acknowledge the significant work the Women's Auxiliary has done for this institution over the years. I mean, it started with darning socks and making cookies and quilting beautiful quilts, to funding scholarship for CPE students, creating beauty in our courtyard and over in the gardens at the Glebe Center, and decorating the building seasonally for students to enjoy while they were studying for exams. And there have been many other projects, the redevelopment of the kitchen in the old building, supplying blinds in the classrooms in the old buildings, and many other things over the last 100 years that have really supported this institution in very tangible ways. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Helen Weaver. Mirko and her have recorded a video that we'll watch as she speaks about the work of the auxiliary.
Hi, I'm Helen Weaver. I'm honored and proud to have been associated with the auxiliary of Martin Luther University College and formerly Waterloo Lutheran Seminary for the past 20 years, most recently as its president. For over 100 years, this organization has supported aspiring pastors. It was only through the generous gifts of time, talent, and treasure of countless women from many congregations of the Eastern Synod that we were able to offer bursaries for clinical pastoral education and beautiful hand-sewn quilts to first-year seminary students, or in more recent years when they were ordained. It started when the seminary students lived in residence and they were given quilts for their beds. And I think it might have been in the 70s when they started being given out to first-year students. So every first-year student would get a quilt. We usually receive letters from them saying how pleased and happy they are to have received it, and often years later, how much of a warm blessing it's been to them to remember the care that was stitched into it. And the quilts were made by women from all of the supporting churches in the Eastern Synod. Renovation projects such as foyer furniture, faculty kitchen, and blinds to classrooms, to name a few, were also funded by the auxiliary. As well, gardens in the courtyard were lovingly tended for a number of years. Annual meetings in September were a joyful time to gather together women from supporting congregations for a time of celebration, learning, and sharing. It was with sadness that recognizing changes in both the seminary and our support base in recent years, we realized everything has a lifespan, including our beloved auxiliary. I would like to thank all the members of the board, because most of them have been on for a fairly long time and been really, really supportive and helpful and wonderful strength and very, very passionate about what the auxiliary did. So we know that it will be remembered for its support over many years, and its legacy will live on in the future.
Thanks so much, Helen. It was great to see those historic pictures and really representative of so many committed women to support this institution over the years. And you're right, the legacy will continue because we still have quilts that are given out to students, and we still have scholarships that are provided for CPE students. So redeveloping a building like this does not happen simply or quickly. Many years went into the planning, many hours in committee meetings. And we were very fortunate to have Brett Miller to be the construction project manager for this building. And Brett is a steady hand when it comes to managing a project like this, and also very responsive, quickly responsive to questions and concerns, and has worked diligently to try to meet the needs of the redevelopment of this building. And I think you will find that it's been extremely successful. And as I've taken on the role of principal dean, I too have really appreciated Brett's attention to detail, the willingness to share information and resources for me as we continue to figure things out in the building and as we look to future renovations. So our next video is by Brett Miller, and he will tell us a little bit about the project.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak at this event. I always look forward to the warm welcome from the MLUC community and getting the chance to catch up with friends. Unfortunately, we don't get that chance to catch up due to the current situation we're in. However, I'm happy to speak to you virtually today. I started working on what would become the Martin Luther University College building back in 2015. At that time, there were a few master plan options for the property that included everything from knocking down the existing building, creating a new residence building in place of the parking lot to the north. But it was very quickly determined that the existing building meant a great deal to the staff, faculty, students, and greater community. And perhaps the best way forward was to build upon the strengths of the existing building. The building itself was in dire need of some TLC. The front street facade was primarily the mechanical room and an old rusty staircase, and the administration office was essentially an oven in the summer months, as I'm sure Dorinda, Shwetha, and Mirko can attest to. However, the building did have many great attributes, including the limestone facade, the chapel and its beautiful ceiling and organ, and the multitude of windows and curtain wall that looked into the courtyard. Thankfully, we were able to procure the services of Montgomery Sezen architects who matched our enthusiasm for mid-century modern buildings such as this. Through many user committee meetings over many months, we produced a design that complemented the heritage and history of the building while also updating it to a state-of-the-art teaching facility. Our 14-month construction schedule period began in the spring of 2017, meaning I had to kick everyone out of the building and into a 1970s era residence building on a different part of campus that made the existing seminary building look like St. Peter's Basilica in comparison. Construction on an existing building like this always comes with a few unknowns, and this project did not disappoint. I could ramble on for hours about all of the odd and unexpected things that arose during construction, but I'll focus on two today. Not long into the excavation phase for the new Bricker Avenue addition and entranceway, we began digging, and instead of finding undisturbed soil, we found two intact house foundations and all of the building materials from those houses piled into those foundations. It delayed us by a few days, but we got all of the material removed from site. That was an odd one, but we had heard rumblings that there were previously houses between Bricker Ave and the building, so not entirely unexpected. What was more of a mystery and more unexpected was when we had finished the demolition of the interior of the building and began cutting the concrete floors to run the new plumbing lines for what would become the main floor servery and washrooms. And again, instead of finding undisturbed soil under the floors, we found a basement with multiple rooms that weren't accessible in any way to the main building. But we're still not entirely sure why these rooms were constructed, as they never showed up on existing drawings, but we made it work. And I think we were all happy with the fact that we didn't unearth anything dead or undead when we found it. With the guidance of Montgomery Sezen architects and the hard work of our contractor, Malul Blamey Construction, we were able to complete this project on time and under budget. Believe it or not, we were even on speaking terms at the end of the project, which isn't always the case on a multi-year project like this. Having leadership on the executive decision-making level is absolutely paramount for the success of a project. So I want to thank the members of the steering committee, David Frimmer, Mark Harris, Rod Kruger, Jim Phillips, and Ken Reinhardt for their leadership, thorough understanding of the project requirements, and quick decision-making skills. As construction projects go, I have to admit that this has been my favorite project I've worked on to date. Getting to work on an existing building such as this and having the ability to enhance its already great attributes is why I got into the industry in the first place. Even now, when I visit the building, I feel a great deal of pride that I was part of the team that made this project a reality. The level of community, hope, and friendship I feel when I enter the building and see students using the study spaces and the staff enjoying the buildings make all of the gray hairs and sleepless nights totally worth it. I now consider many of the MLUC staff and faculty members as friends, and always happy to make a detour into the building while I'm on campus to check in with them. So thanks again to Kristine Lund for asking me to speak at this event. I'm always more than happy to talk about my experiences on this project. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. I have to admit that I too am glad that you didn't find anything dead or undead in the building either. I'm not sure what I would have done if that would have happened. And it is great news that we have finished on time and came in under budget, because you're right. While the Leicester building worked for us, it was sort of an time of exile, and we were all glad to move into this newly redeveloped building. So thanks again so much, Brett, for all your work on this project, and you are most certainly welcome to stop by anytime. The coffee pot's always on. So you heard a little bit about the redevelopment of the building, and of course, we are very proud and happy the way the building turned out in its renovation. I think it's also interesting to hear about how the building is experienced by the people who use it. So I have 3 videos from people who participate and make use of this space. And the first one that I would like to introduce you to is Sarah Stockford. She's a graduate from our Bachelor of Arts degree in Christian Studies and Global Citizenship, and she will speak to how she as a student has experienced the space.
Hi, my name is Sarah Stockford, and I'm a recent graduate from Martin Luther College University. In the spring, I completed my BA in Christian Studies and Global Citizenship. When I started at Luther 4 years ago, the new renovations were not yet complete, so I started my first year at our temporary quarters on Leicester. When we moved back into the building on campus in my second year, it was a completely different experience. For one, there was much more space to study and places to hang out. I love that the spaces are large enough that we can move tables around and create different spaces for people to study or hang out. You can put a bunch of tables together and have a bunch of friends hanging out, or you can go off to the side on your own if you just need some time alone. There's always welcoming faces around, and it's constantly buzzing with energy. That being said, it's not the most quiet place to go, but if you're looking for people to hang out with and friendly faces, it's the place to be. The building at Luther truly feels like a community, and I believe it's because of the little things that make such a big difference. There are spaces where students can go to get coffee, and people are always bringing in baked goods, which just makes it feel so comfortable and welcoming. I love to be able to sit upstairs at the windows where you can look outside and you can see the students running around and the different people coming in and out of the building, and it's a special place to watch the seasons change. Then, of course, there's the chapel, which is just such a special place. I don't know anyone who doesn't feel at home in the chapel. It's a space where everyone is welcome. It always feels like it's filled with life and with music, and it's just this filling and amazing feeling. The renovations done at the Luther building have been absolutely amazing, and we're so grateful for the donors who have made this possible. I've had so many amazing experiences because of the renovations, and I know that there will be so many more experiences to come because of all of you. So thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Sarah's gone on to begin a Master of Divinity degree at Knox College in Toronto. So we're proud of her next steps as she prepares for ministry. At Luther, we often describe ourselves as a Lutheran host to a multi-faith community. There are a variety of faith groups that use our space, and the Muslim students in particular gather weekly for Friday prayers. So let's hear from Selda Sezen, the Muslim chaplain on campus, on the space that the Muslim students use.
Greetings, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Selda Sezen. I'm a member of Multi-Faith Resource Team at Laurier and serve as Laurier's Muslim chaplain. I'm also currently a PhD student candidate in the Luther's Human Relationships program and specializing in spiritual care and psychotherapy. When I first came to Luther as a student in 2014, I immediately found a welcoming community here. The multi-faith prayer room at Luther's campus was one of the features that demonstrated to me that Luther was a truly community that was dedicated to connecting with other faith traditions. That was before the Luther's leaders began planning the major renovation and the renewal of campus. During the planning process, I was delighted to be invited to contribute to the planning of facilities that would serve Muslim students and the non-Lutheran students. I and other members of Muslim community helped the school's leaders design a multi-faith room with adjoining wudu ablution facilities that we used regularly before the pandemic forced us to leave campus. Each week, up to 60 Muslim students from Luther, Laurier, and the University of Waterloo gathered for Friday afternoon Jummah prayers on Luther campus. Students would express that the Luther campus is a place where they are welcomed and feel valuable part of the larger community always. In my knowledge, Luther was the first higher educational institution in Waterloo region that offered a proper ablution area, which is architecturally designed to meet the wudu needs of Muslim students, staff, and faculty members. The students found the multi-faith prayer and reflection area very organized and practical, with its special shoe and the wudu area that is connected with the prayer space. After prayers on Fridays, we gathered in Grace Place for a meal and to socialize. The ability to connect with each other at Luther was a blessing. The Muslim community of Laurier is so fortunate to have this safe location at Luther, where the community members have a unique opportunity for intrafaith and interfaith dialogue regularly, while developing their sense of faith, their sense of belonging, and sense of community. On behalf of the campus Muslim community, I would like to thank everyone who supported the renewal of Luther's campus. While the community is nurtured by faculty, staff, and volunteers, the wonderful renewed facility gives them a space to continue building bridges with the entire community. And for that, we are grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, Selda. I really appreciate your reflections on how the space has supported the Muslim students in their life of faith. The space at Luther gets used for a variety of activities, and one that has developed over the pandemic that surprised us is a food distribution service. Pastor Ann Anderson became aware of a number of students who were experiencing a lack of food. And so we began to think about how we might be a source of food for students who were experiencing food insecurity. It became more difficult during the pandemic, particularly because there was no opportunity for students to work on campus. Jobs in the community were pretty scarce. And with the increasing costs of rent and other costs related to education, students were finding it very difficult to make ends meet. And one place where you can cut is food. And so we were finding a lot of hungry students. So Anne partnered with Carly from Laurier's Student Public Interest Research Group, which then enabled us to network with a number of community organizations, such as Emmanuel United Church, the KW Community Kitchen, Waterloo Region Food Bank, Two Rivers Area Ministry Churches, community members, the Muslim Student Association, the Cedars Faith Community, Cobb's Bread, many neighbors and friends of Luther, including faculty and staff, and even students themselves. Many of the students who volunteer at the food distribution tell their families and friends and bring food into the food distribution as well. And we've also had some anonymous donations as well. The first week of class this year, we had 99 students. And last Thursday, the second week of class, we had 126 students. So the need is great. So let's hear what Carly has to say about the space and how it's supported the food distribution this year.
Hi everyone, my name is Carly Raff. I am the volunteer and community engagement at Ellisburg. Ellisburg is a nonprofit, stands for Laurier Students Public Interest Research Group. And we've been thrilled to partner with Luther to start an amazing program that we're really proud of. It's had a really amazing impact here on the campus community, and that is the weekly free distro. So essentially this distro program provides essentials to students, so fresh food, non-perishable food, hygiene products, household cleaning, just like everything that a student might need in their day-to-day life, because we believe everyone deserves access to what they need. And so we have been using this beautiful space throughout the pandemic. We've been really, really grateful to be able to use this space for good and not just have it sit empty during COVID. We've been able to reach an average of 55 students last year every single week. And this is the first week of September, and we've already hit more than we've ever had come, and we're only halfway through the distro today. So it's a really huge impact, and we've heard from students that this program has really improved their mental health and access. So very, very grateful.
Thanks, Carly. I'm very grateful for the leadership you've shown and the organizing of the student volunteers. And given the pandemic protocols and returning to campus, it's been a lot of figuring out how to run the food distro in a way that's safe. And Anne and Carly have done a lot of work in that, and it truly is a success. So thanks. I hope these videos have given you a glimpse of the impact that your donation has made in the redevelopment of the building and in sustaining the life of Luther. We have a beautiful building that supports our commitment to the environment by using our resources wisely. And we have space that supports us to live as a community. And it also supports us to reach out to students who are challenged either with food, and also runs a lending library for international students who come thinking a furnished apartment means furnished everything, to discover there is nothing. And they're maybe only here for a term. And so we lend out pots and pans and cutlery and dishes and bedding and small appliances and lamps. And international students feel supported in their transition to their studies here in Waterloo as they're able to make a home. And when they're done, they bring their bin of things back and they're cleaned and recycled, and what's still usable then gets lent out to another student who might be in need. So there's a lot of initiatives that happen out of Luther that support the whole person of the student, so that they can be successful in their learning and pursue their interests. A good portion of our building is used for teaching and learning. In fact, I'm up in one of the second floor classrooms, 201B to be exact, where this summer we installed new technology. Now, you might say, why did you need to install new technology when the building is hardly 3 years old and you were out of it for 20 months? Well, that's a really good question. And let me attempt to try to answer it. When the committee was considering technology for the classrooms, the whole idea of creating smart classrooms was considered, but they were $65,000 each. That seemed like an exorbitant amount of money for the amount of technology that probably any of us were going to use at the time. So they did put technology in the classroom. We have projectors and we have speakers, and there is Wi-Fi available in the classroom and all those kinds of things. And pre-pandemic, that technology suited our needs. And so actually it was an appropriate choice at the point of making the decision when we were redeveloping the building. However, the pandemic has sort of thrown everything on its head. In February 2020, we were catapulted into a new world where faculty needed to revise their teaching methods to a remote way of learning. And this required faculty to revise and revise again and learn a lot about what does it mean to teach remotely and what kind of pedagogical differences are required when you're using media, when you're using a mediated environment to teach. So So it was challenging for sure. But there were some things that we learned and even some things that were surprising. We found that our reach became much larger. We had students living in Newfoundland or in Oregon or in other areas of Canada who normally would not have been able to come to Waterloo Region to study, who could access courses and programs through this remote form of learning. We also discovered that we were able to offer other activities, like even Inshallah, they pivoted to doing things online, our community choir. And we've had public lectures and panels and other events that have occurred. Open Door, the contemplative pauses that happen at noon, have all occurred in an online format. So we adapted. But what we've discovered is that it works either one way or the other, but we did not have the technology to do things concurrently. And by that, I mean, like I'm here in the classroom today speaking to you, and you are wherever you are, and together we can be in a mediated space concurrently. We didn't have that capacity before to provide quality experiences to students. We did, bring a student in on Zoom now and again when they were sick or they were away, but it didn't let the people who were in class engage with the student in the remote environment, and the student in the remote environment couldn't hear the students in class very well. So this summer, we installed technology in all 3 second-floor classrooms to facilitate that concurrent learning experience. So there is quality learning experiences for both the students who are in class in the building and those who are in class in a remote environment. And of course, there's been glitches. We're only in week 2 of September in classes, and it's a bit of a learning experience for us as faculty. For example, I have to keep looking at the camera. I can't look at all of you on the screen, and the temptation is always to turn. But we're getting better. I'm getting better, and we're learning about it. And I think we haven't even tapped into the possibilities that this kind of technology is going to help us with. For example, this coming Friday, we have 8 students from Martin Luther University in Shillong, India, who will be joining the postmodern psychotherapy class. This would have never been possible before. And what a rich learning experience that's going to be for those students to learn with our students and our students to learn with them. Students who are in a much different context, and I'm sure will be asking different questions. I can only imagine the rich conversations that are going to happen in class because of what technology can support us to do. So I'm really excited about how we will be able to expand our course offerings. You may have heard that we've started a new certificate this fall. The first class will start in a couple of weeks in disability and care for congregational leaders who are interested in considering what does it mean to be an inclusive community for people with Alzheimer's or autism, or we might have mobility challenges or anything. So if you have an interest, you might have checked that out, because again, it's going to be offered in this kind of hybrid environment. So having said that, let me talk a little bit about Keffer Chapel. I know Keffer Chapel is a beloved space in this building. And when the building was designed, the chapel was created to be an excellent space to support the pipe organ and music, particularly choirs. And it is a beautiful space for those purposes. However, it is very challenging for the spoken word. And even with amplification, if any of you have been at lectures in that space, you will know that in certain parts of that room, it's extremely difficult to hear, even when somebody's using a microphone. Because of the liveliness of the room, it is impossible to do in Keffer Chapel what we are doing now. We cannot do something that's concurrent in the chapel. So we couldn't have you at home and some of us at Open Door on Wednesdays and 5 and do it together, that it would just be a cacophony of noise. It just wouldn't work at all. And so we can't use that space to do things concurrently, again, like lectures, panels, other learning opportunities, workshops. And so we've begun to reconsider what needs to happen in Keffer Chapel acoustically in order to find that sweet spot between maintaining a good quality of sound for music and improving the quality of sound for the spoken word. And we've been very fortunate to have Bill Gastmeier, who's an acoustical engineer and a longtime friend of Luther, who has played in that room with Inshallah and sung, and so is extremely familiar with that room, who was willing to work with us to consider our options for the chapel. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill, and he will speak to you from the chapel today and tell you a little bit about what we're doing in the chapel.
Thanks very much. I'm very pleased to be here. As Kristine mentioned, I've been in this space before. And, you know, as I was hearing some of the wonderful stories, for example, about the Ladies Auxiliary and the history of the space, it reminded me that I'm pretty sure my dad was on the Board of Governors here, if he wasn't the chair at one time. I don't know if there's still records, but his name could be there. My brother attended this college at that time, now university, for some time. And of course, my mom, as a mature student, got her Bachelor of Arts and then her Bachelor of Music from University, from Wilfrid Laurier. And at that time, of course, very tightly connected with the School of Music and this wonderful organ that you can see behind us. My mother was a church organist. So here we are. You're probably able to hear what I'm saying. I'm probably reasonably intelligible, but you can probably also hear the wonderful acoustic in the room for music. La, 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 la. In peace, let us pray to the Lord. So everybody generally pretty much agrees that this room is just, you know, it was a gem. And it is a gem, but all gems eventually, you know, fashions change. So here we are looking at the teaching end of the room. And I'm going to give another little demonstration. I'm going to go back up here and speak. Speaking in a fairly loud voice, because I have to, because I have to raise my voice to have any chance of overcoming this resonance. And that's not a good thing for teachers to have to do. And also, you can probably understand me a whole lot better when I'm right close to the microphone, but that doesn't mean that the students in the room are hearing with the same quality. So these are the challenges, a space that's really absolutely almost over the top for music, almost so reverberant, and Debbie Lou might be able to attest to this at some point. It's almost so reverberant, it's even difficult to teach music in this space. It's not the best thing for music rehearsal, certainly for concert and organ. So there we are. And what we did then as engineers is we came in and we measured that magical quantity called reverberation. We have instruments that do these types of things. And we found that sound in this room persists, lingers for more than 3 seconds. What people usually suggest for speech is something around a second or less. And certainly all the AV folks at the school would be saying, yes, that's what we need so that we can reach out through all of our electronic means. So we had understanding the results of those measurements, then we had quite interesting discussions with a little committee here and decided we were going to try to achieve a balance. So try to get something that still is going to help that organ sound good and have at least choir rehearsal be satisfying, but also be very good for speech. So we chose our target somewhere between 1 and 2 seconds, probably around 1.5 seconds. And, you know, engineers, we got to use our calculator. So depending on the room surfaces and the physical characteristics of the floor and the ceiling and the measurements, we were able to do our calculations to determine how to treat the room. So that's the real techie stuff. But when it comes down to it, the solution that the committee agreed to essentially was to be able to install what we call absorptive panels. So these are 2-inch thick panels, in this case, narrow and tall, of an acoustical material covered with fabric. And they would be installed on the upper walls, leaving the lower walls open and clear for all of this beautiful artwork that we also showed here. The other thing we found, and these panels would be organized to follow the vertical lines of the brick and the windows and the columns. So then we also considered the ceiling, because an interesting thing came out during our measurements about the ceiling. You can see that it's made up of a series of concave vaults. And those features tend to focus sound and concentrate it, making certainly the center areas of the room it just sounds noisy. You get a few people in here talking, trying to communicate, and we get exposed to what we call the cocktail party effect, where the more people you have talking to each other, the louder it gets, the more they hear from the room, so the louder they talk, and it's just a cacophony. I'm sure you've all experienced things like that, whether you've been to cocktail parties or not. So, the solution there is to get a different sort of acoustical panel, but one that's moldable, that's shapeable. So we're able to put, again, long, thin elements right up in the vaults, colored as much as possible to be the same as the vaults. So the hope is they'll become more or less transparent. And we were really lucky in all of this to be able to consult with the interior designer for the university. She looked over all the things and really came up with what we thought were good color matches. And of course, the shape and spacing of these panels to be as aesthetic as possible. So that's what we did. As far as I know, the successful bidder has been chosen and a purchase order is in the process of being issued. So that's to bring you all up to date, and thanks for the opportunity.
Bill, did you want to say something about the front wall?
Yes, certainly. You can see behind me the front wall. We're not considering treating that wall because we didn't need that much acoustical treatment to control it as much as we think it should be. And also that wall, there are lots of future plans. There may at some point be perhaps some kind of projection. So that wall, I think we're just going to leave as it is for now.
Right, and it is, it is also used in our art displays and
Yes.
other activities. I mean, we sometimes still put candles in the bricks for worship when it gets a little darker, when we get closer to open doors. So that front wall is used for a variety of things. And when Bill said that we really didn't need the front wall to deal with the acoustical challenges, the decision was to leave it alone. I want to publicly thank Bill Gastmeier for all his work. He has spent a lot of time with me and with the committee consulting and also looking at the proposals and providing his expertise so that we could make the best choice possible to maintain good sound both for music and the spoken word. So thanks again, Bill. I am greatly appreciative of your work.
Thank you, Kristine. Nice to talk to you all.
So I'm going to turn it over to Heather now.
Thank you, Kristine. Thank you, Bill, very much for that demonstration, which I think really helps to explain exactly what the issues are and where we're hoping to go. I do also have a personal connection to the lovely Keffer Chapel, as my parents were married there in a candlelight service a long time ago. And I feel and believe that it is a special place and deserves to be enjoyed by all of you and in the community. And now, hopefully, others who can zoom in from all around the world. That is our goal. So to that end, I'd like to explain how you may continue to contribute to our mission here in the redevelopment of Luther, should you be so interested. We have sent out explanations and some forms along with return envelopes, but if you haven't got that anymore, or if you wish to donate online, there is a link that's going to be put in the chat to the form. It's there now, so feel free to look at your chat, and you can go directly to the website, which, as you know, will direct you to the Laurier site, but we are able to donate specifically to the technology upgrade campaign. We have a target of $150,000, which takes into account all of the ideas that we've just discussed and some of the quotations that we have for those. We have undertaken the bulk of that work already, so we're playing catch up, and we have received approximately $22,000 the last time we checked last week. So I hope everyone now has a better understanding of what our aims are, and I hope that you are able to give as you are able. Any small contribution is welcome, and I do appreciate your support of Luther, and I will turn to the bishop for blessing.
Very much, Heather. Thank you, Dr. Lund. I'm going to close with a prayer and a blessing. Let us pray. We give you thanks, O God, creator of the universe. You are the source of life. On this day of community and gratitude, we give thanks for generosity amid the uncertainty of these days. In particular, we give you thanks for those who have given their time, money, to further the mission of Martin Luther University College and to support the lives of students, staff, and faculty. By your grace, may Luther continue to be a safe and lively place for new discoveries and just ways that inspire lives of meaning and service in your world. We pray with gratitude and expectation. Amen. And now a blessing adapted from the words of Jan Richardson and Ruth Fox. Friends, look close and you will see the layers of blessing. How it has been fashioned by those who walked this road before us, how it has been expanded by their determination and their dreaming, how it has taken its form from an ancient hope that drew them forward and made a way for them when no way could be seen. Look closer and you will see that this blessing is not finished, and that you are part of the path of this unveiling. That in your generosity and imagination, you are how this blessing continues to be a voice within the wilderness and a welcome for the way forward. May God bless us with enough foolishness to believe that we really can make a difference in the world, so that we are able, with God's grace, to do what others claim cannot be done. Go into the world, give generously, be a steadfast partner in God's revolution of love and of justice. Amen.
Thanks, Bishop Michael. Appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for coming this afternoon. Again, I really appreciate your support. This Zoom meeting has been recorded and will be available on Luther's YouTube channel. If you're aware of somebody who couldn't be here this afternoon, certainly feel free to share it as widely as you would like. So thanks again, and I wish you a good afternoon. Bye-bye for now.